All right, guys. So last week, I actually caught this very interesting interview between a young 21-year-old conservative who has started his own school to teach men how to be men. Okay. And his name is King Randall. Now, Mr. Randall has basically adopted a life philosophy that I think is very similar to what Booker T. Washington preached, right? Which is self-reliance, guys. And if you've heard anything in terms of my commentary about Booker T. Washington, you guys know that I think that, he is one of the greatest figures in American history, right? And King Randall, again, reminds me a lot of some of the things that he talked about. Now, this segment here that we're going to talk about is a debate between him and Roland Martin. Now, if you guys don't know, Roland Martin is a liberal commentator whose main thing right now is trying to get black people to go out and vote for Democrats, right? So his whole thing right now is trying to fight voter suppression because, voting Democrat is going to change the reality for black people, right? Even though black people have been voting Democrat for the last, 50, 60 years. And, we're currently in the situation that we're in. For whatever reason, Roland Martin believes that ending voter suppression is going to change everything for the black community. Okay. Now, Mr. Randall obviously does not believe that. He has a philosophy of self-reliance. Okay. He's teaching these young men, again, like I said, how to be men. He's teaching them auto mechanics, how to change oil, tires, how to cook, right? How to do for themselves, right? He's educating them as well. He's teaching them how to read, how to do math. His whole thing is like, listen, we do a lot of complaining about the government and what the government doesn't do for us. So, why don't we just do for ourselves? Why don't we take care of ourselves? That way we don't have to rely on the government to do for us. And in my opinion, I think this message right here is the right message. And I think that this is really what true conservatism is, right? Self-reliance, doing for yourself, individual freedom, liberty, right? And before we get into this debate here, guys, because I think that, Roland Martin here is really going to step over the line, right? And really miss the greater good that is happening here because of his agenda to basically advance his career off the back of trying to get black people to vote Democrat. But before we get into that, let's watch this video here so you guys have a better background in terms of the work that Mr. King Randall has been doing in his community.
Well, a group of Albany kids keeping their hands in positive activities all summer long, teaching them how to become men. WALB News 10's Georgia MacArthur has this story.
Our mentor says that he will be getting these boys in order all week to prepare them for a better future.
This is your oil filter, so every time you change your oil, you're going to change your oil filter.
In midst of all the violence in Southwest Georgia, 6 boys in Albany are spending every day this summer learning skilled labor.
So they're learning things such as construction work, general contracting, auto repair, also cooking. They're also learning how to garden, farming, all of those things.
The camp is developing young boys between the ages of 14 to 17 into men over the next couple of weeks. And that is the goal.
I feel like if I teach them before something happens to them, that way they can go out and do something with themselves instead of doing nothing.
And the man behind the summer camp is only 20 years old himself.
You see my jack right there? Make sure you always have a jack stand too, right? Yes, sir.
Randall is teaching the boys about their culture, how to work on cars, and how to become businessmen by working on skilled labor they will be able to use in their everyday lives.
I think it's a good experience, because not everybody's gonna teach us this, and the way this generation looking right now, we need it.
17-year-old Darnell Howard says he's looking forward to learning and growing from his peers at the camp.
Knowledge, and, not having to ask my mama for anything.
The Expert Boys say summer boot camp aimed to break the misguided traits of manhood and introduce them to positive role models in the community.
This is my way of fighting injustice. I definitely feel like if we show them love and care before something happens to them, we don't have to worry about anything happening to them.
An army of good men are in the making, thanks to this mentor who decided to step up and give back.
Get out and teach somebody. Get out and show somebody something. Let's fight for our children while they're alive and not when they're dead.
Georgia MacArthur, WLB News 10.
All right, guys. So as you can see that, right? That sounds great. That sounds exactly like, what conservatism is, in my opinion, right? Self-reliance. Okay, but Roland Martin, for whatever reason, does not believe that black people can be self-reliant without the government. So he gets in this debate with this 21-year-old, keep that in mind here, on this subject matter and on what Mr. Randall is doing in the community. And I just want you guys to pay attention to this exchange because I find it absolutely fascinating.
We have to get out and go do for self in our own communities.
So, so define do for self.
When I say do for self, you shared one of my tweets, my videos, and I was actually a big fan of yours, but you shared one of my tweets when I said black people need to stop begging the government and go and do for self out in our communities. You shared the video and called me an idiot. I didn't see anything idiotic about that statement at all.
So when you say do for self, like what? Explain that.
Okay, for example, here in Albany, Georgia, we complain about our school systems a lot. Many of our young men can't read. They have very horrible literacy rates. We don't have any rehab programs here for juvenile offenders. What I decided to do, I started a program 2 years ago, decided to do for self, and I started taking children into my home. I started taking custody of kids from juvenile court, and I started molding them and training them and teaching them skilled trades, etc. Now I'm 21 years old. I just purchased a school here in Albany, Georgia, to combat us being in the government-funded schools that are not teaching our children what they need to learn. So that's what I mean by do for self, simply getting up and going out and do it.
So
I beat the stereotype that I'm young, black, in America, and I can't do anything because somebody's holding me down. Absolutely not.
So a question.
Teenagers went and go ahead. Me and some teenagers went and bought a school, and we just bought a school bus simply from going out and doing work. We decided to go fix our own communities. I'm not expecting anything from no politician. I'm not expecting nothing from Donald Trump, Joe Biden, or nobody. We're going to go do it for ourselves, and that's what I believe we need to be doing. I can vote, sure, but nothing's going to change in our community.
So you don't believe that government policymakers play any role whatsoever in being able to impact the lives of black boys and others in Georgia?
If we take them out of that government system, we don't have to worry about that. I keep saying
how is that? So hold on. So here's the question. Hold up. Here's the question. Mm-hmm. How do you remove someone out of a government system when we all live in government systems?
Okay, being literal, absolutely, we all live in a government system. Absolutely. However, you can do things to remove most government from your life.
How?
As far as trying to get yourself off of food stamps,
How?
trying to get yourself off of welfare. You got to go work. You got to get jobs. You got to get out here and go and do it.
So hold up. So I'm just curious. So if somebody doesn't have a job, are they not applying to government for unemployment benefits or insurance?
Absolutely.
So how can that person remove themselves out of government when that's what government provides?
Absolutely. Well, my thing is trying to make sure you're not allowing the government to finance your whole entire life. As long as you're giving somebody the right to feed you, you're giving them the right to starve you as well. People are living their whole lives off the government systems. It was the day the government decide, well, we're going to cut food stamps, we're going to cut this and cut that. What we going to do? We have people out here living off those systems. So I believe in teaching our people how to go survive without the government. That's my biggest thing.
But again, though, you keep saying, I'm trying to understand. You keep saying how to survive without the government. You act as if a young black boy who comes into your program will not interface with government in any way. They will interface with government still driving down the street. They will interface with government trying to get a driver's license. They will interface with government trying to get a voter ID. They will interface with government trying to apply for financial aid to go to college. So they're going to interface with government in many ways. The point I'm saying is, doesn't it make sense that black folks should be engaged in a political process to where we are impacting policy that also impacts us?
All right, guys. So that exchange there, guys. King Randall schooled Roland Martin, right? And just so you guys have better context in terms of what was said after this and before this, Roland Martin basically was making an argument of you can't do any of this without the government. You still need the government to do this. You still need the government to do that, right? And in order to get the government to do stuff for you, you gotta go out and vote. You gotta go out and vote. And basically, he just spent the whole interview basically chastising this young man because he doesn't believe that going out and voting Democrat is going to fix the problems in the black community. Right? And guys, I encourage you to watch the video for yourself to get full context. It only can show so much. But to me, this video right here and people like Roland Martin define to me what is wrong with some of those who believe black people or people even in general need help from the government in order to do for themselves. Okay, because every single time Roland asked the question of, you still need the government, King Randall proved him wrong. Because he didn't need the government to go out there and buy that school, right? This 21-year-old went and bought a school, right? To transform into a boarding school for young men. He didn't need the government to teach these young men trades or how to read or how to do math or to help get them out of trouble. He didn't need the government for that. He did that. He took care of his own community. He didn't rely on nobody else coming in to do that for him. And Roland Martin, instead of acknowledging the extraordinary work that this young man was doing, Roland was more focused on the young man's politics and the fact that, he's a conservative and that he's not pushing people to go out there and vote Democrat, rather than the fact that this young man at 21 years old is doing things that really 99.9999999% of 21-year-olds cannot do, right? Somebody that's doing something like that at that young of an age, something that's so selfish, something that's so impactful in his own community, that should be celebrated. Those are the type of people that need to be pushed to the front of, this movement, right? Those are the type of people that we have to get behind because those are the type of people that have the right idea. One thing about conservatives, we've always, talked about the importance of fatherhood, right? Being a man, having strong men in young men's life. This man is solving that root problem. He's taking a bunch of men who have never had fathers in their lives, and he's being a father figure to them. And the only thing that this 50-plus-year-old liberal black man can think about in this interview is why is he not pushing people to vote Democrat? As if voting Democrat has changed anything for the black community. And guys, this right here just really defines the difference in mentality from those who, are more conservative versus those who are more liberal. Because although from a literal standpoint and a technical standpoint, Roland is right. Like, obviously, there are government services and government infrastructure that people depend on, right? Like, everybody depends on roads and, water and electricity and things like that. Things that are facilitated by the government, obviously, okay? But what Mr. Randall is saying is that, when it comes to certain welfare programs, black people don't necessarily need to depend on that, right? Because, depending on that does not incentivize doing more. It does not incentivize bringing in more income. It does not incentivize doing better for yourself. And that's one of my biggest issues with the current welfare system is that it doesn't incentivize work, okay? Because the more you do, the less that you get, right? So, I think that Roland, he's trying to win this debate on a technicality, right? In which he's correct on, without taking a step back and acknowledging the bigger picture, which is that, this young 21-year-old is doing some extraordinary work in his own community. Liberals love complaining about the system. They love complaining about the government. Liberals complain about the government more than the conservatives complain about the government, to be quite honest with you. For example, like the school system, right? Liberals love to complain about how bad the public school system is. And I'm not even going to say I disagree with that, right? The public school system isn't great. So when somebody decides, bump the public school system, we're going to start our own school. We're going to teach our kids what we feel like they should be taught. All of a sudden, that's a problem. The only thing this man can think about is saying, well, why you not voting Democrat? Instead of saying, how can I help? How can I contribute? How much more money do you need? What can we do to give you a platform to give this school the resources that it's going to need to survive long term? Instead of asking those questions on how to support, he's trying to figure out why does he not want to slave for the Democrats. It really blows my mind. It really does. That the mentality of people like Roland Martin is that we can't do nothing without Joe Biden and the Indian vice president. So I just wanted to share this because I just think that this little debate here kind of outlines the difference in mentality. And I personally made a donation to King Randall. I'm not asking anybody else to do it. I did it myself because I do believe in what he's doing. I think that that's the right approach. You know, you take matters into your own hands, right? If you don't like what the government's doing, take matters into your own hands. Have your own. Build up your own, right? And I think a lot of conservatives can resonate with this. And, you know, at the very least, you know, I'm going to use my platform to highlight things like this that I feel like is good. And I'm going to, you know, support financially, you know, this type of stuff that I think really will have an impact and is the right direction to go. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.